Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Adam Draw Stuff. I am Adam and I draw stuff. And today's video is, in full disclosure, it's not going to be very useful. But it might be kind of fun or interesting. I have a whole drawer full of black art supplies. Like charcoal and pastels and black colored pencils and just all kinds of things that are black, even some black paint. So I was going through that drawer and I was thinking, what's the blackest black art supply? I thought today would be a fun day to test it out and to find out what the darkest art supply is. What tool or what medium can make the darkest shade of black? So that's what we're doing today. So I've got 8 different blacks, 8 different materials. I have some black acrylic paint, black watercolor paint, Copic marker, the darkest pencil I was able to find, which is an 8B, a Sharpie, a black Prismacolor pencil, black chalk pastel, and of course, vine charcoal. So I have a little grid here set up with the 8 different materials listed on it, and I put them in the order that I think they're gonna be lightest to darkest. So like first I have pencil and then all the way down to, I'm guessing Sharpie's gonna be the darkest black, but I don't really know. So let's jump in and find out what is the blackest black art supply. I forgot to hit record. So, in all my infinite wisdom, I forgot to hit record on my other camera. So I did the first 3, and as you can see, the lightest is actually the black pastel, the darkest so far is the Prismacolor, and then the in-between is the 8B graphite pencil. So, you didn't get to see me doing it in moment, but there you have it. Those are the first 3. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be watercolor. And of course, watercolor is usually diluted with water, but I'm not going to do that because I want the darkest black out of this that I can get. So we're just going to use it right out of the tube as is, and we'll see what we get out of it. And this isn't even really watercolor paper, but oh, that's black. Ooh. But I think it'll be, where is my freaking paintbrush? It's over there. Hang on. So, oh, that is real, wow. Now, we're not gonna really be able to see what it looks like until it dries. So, even though it looks really, really, really black right now, if it dries a little bit matte, it won't be quite as dark. We'll see. We might have to come back to that one when we're done. Okay, so we'll let the watercolor dry for now, and we'll come back to that in a little bit and see where we're at. Next up, I think the next darkest one is going to be charcoal. But now we're getting to the point where all of them are so dark that it might just kind of end up being a toss-up. So let's see how dark we can go with charcoal. And I'm just using the regular vine charcoal that you can get at really any art store. All it is literally vines that have been burned and under, I think, like low oxygen or something like that to produce charcoal. So let's see what we get here. And I'm also using, it comes in various hardnesses, but I'm also using soft vine charcoal. Well, I've misjudged again. The charcoal is not nearly as dark as the watercolor or the colored pencil. I think though it might have to do with the fact that this is not charcoal paper. The texture is very smooth, so it's not holding on to quite as much of the charcoal as it would if I were actually using charcoal paper or pastel paper. But that's what we have. So next up we have a mess and also a Copic marker. So we'll see how this one fares. I'm going to use the chisel tip, and this is a brand new marker, never been used, so fresh for this one. So it's got the maximum amount of pigment and ink in the canister. So let's see how black we can go with this guy. I'm gonna let it dry for a second and then go back in with another layer too and really get it as dark as I can. All right, well there's the Copic. I think that might be the darkest one so far. The watercolor still isn't totally dry yet, so that one might be a toss-up. But so far, between everything except for the watercolor, the Copic's definitely the darkest. Next, we are going to do the black acrylic paint. And I think this one will be darker yet, but I've been wrong a lot before, so maybe not. Clean off my brush from all that watercolor from before. Let's see what we get with acrylic paint. Oh my goodness, that's way too much. Okay, so there's the acrylic paint, and it's kind of in the same boat as the watercolor. It has to dry down first before you can really see what it looks like. And acrylics always dry a little bit matte and a little bit lighter than they are when they're liquid. So it'll be interesting to see the toss-up, which one is darker between watercolor and acrylic. Because I think those two might actually be the darkest. So last but not least, we have the Sharpie. And this originally is what I thought was going to be the darkest one out of all of them. But the Copic was pretty, it's very similar to the Sharpie in blackness, or if that's what you want to call it. And it's not quite as dark as acrylic or watercolor paint. So let's see what we get with it. And of course, I specifically went out and got a brand new Sharpie marker for this video. Do you think I know where I put it? No. So this one is an old one. Still gonna work, it's just gonna take longer. Okay, and there's the Sharpie. That's all 8. The Sharpie's basically the same level of saturation and blackness as the Copic marker. So that puts it behind acrylic and watercolor for sure. But in the end, interestingly enough, I sort of got them all wrong. I basically got every single one of these wrong. Who knew? The pencil that I thought was going to be the lightest definitely was not. That pastel, that black, if you even want to call it that, as a lie, is definitely the lightest, and it's also a little bit green looking. It's just not a good quality pastel. The other thing is, this is really not a very scientific experiment. I am not an authority here. I just slapped a bunch of stuff on a single piece of paper. If I would have used the proper material for every single medium, that might have skewed things a little bit differently. Because like I said, charcoal doesn't really stick to this kind of paper that well, and it's also not made for taking paint. But this was just for fun, just to see. Put up a better photo of this sheet of paper so you can really get a good look at which one looks like it's the darkest to you. Even though it's not totally dried yet, I'm actually gonna go with the acrylic. I think that the acrylic paint is definitely going to be the darkest, even though it's drying a little bit lighter than it was when it was wet. I think that acrylic is definitely the darkest, and then watercolor would be the next, followed by the Copic, and then Sharpie, and then charcoal, Prismacolor, pencil, and then the lightest is that ugly pastel. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed watching this. I told you it really wasn't going to be useful at all. It was just for fun. Just because I looked in my drawer full of black stuff and this is what came out. So anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and click the bell for notifications, of course. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and you can still give it a thumbs up if you don't like it too. I won't mind. And I will see you in the next one.